The Climate Action Reserve is the most experienced and trusted offset registry to serve the carbon markets. As more organizations look to combat climate change and support environmental projects with true integrity, they turn to the reserve to foster real solutions and reductions in greenhouse gas emissions. Through Carbon Connection, the Reserve's in-house experts will explore our high-quality standards for carbon offset projects and discuss climate change practices that benefit economies, ecosystems, and society. Thank you for joining. Hi, my name is Lauren Wilson, and welcome to our next episode of Carbon Connection, hosted by Climate Action Reserve. Today, we are speaking with our in-house expert, Holly Davison, on our U.S. landfill protocol. Holly serves as the Reserve's Associate Director of Programs and has been deeply involved with supporting program implementation and project management activities of landfill projects. Holly, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Lauren.
So first, I'm going to ask, why is the management of landfills in the United States critical to addressing climate change?
Yeah, so as a society, we'll always be producing waste. So we need to figure out constructive ways to manage that. And anything that helps the environment and reduces the impact that landfill gas has on climate change is important to focus on. It's also an industry that has to keep expanding to manage that waste. So it's important to have these types of projects to avoid that rapid expansion of landfills. Additionally, the EPA estimated that landfills are the largest source of anthropogenic methane, accounting for about 16% of total methane emissions. That's a big chunk, and the solid waste industry has already done a lot of great work to reduce those emissions since 1990, but we can always do more.
Oh, that's really amazing. I didn't realize, that landfills are the largest source of anthropogenic methane. I think that would be probably interesting for a lot of folks online listening into that as well. So, with Climate Action Reserve in our programming, in a nutshell, what is the US landfill protocol?
Sure. The landfill protocol credits landfills or project developers to collect methane gas from cells in an eligible landfill and then destroy that gas that would otherwise be vented into the atmosphere. That is done through an eligible destruction device, such as a flare, an engine, or a boiler that destroys the methane at a very high efficiency rate.
And what is the impact of these projects and of the protocol on communities if we're bringing in, these destruction devices? How is this helpful to local communities?
Yeah, great. So the protocol helps improve local air quality as well as reducing general odor and nuisance from landfills. So in terms of the air quality, instead of that gas being passively vented, it would be actively destroyed.
Got it. Got it. So instead of these emissions being released into the atmosphere through this protocol, we're then instead being able to destroy the emissions, which for us is huge as an organization looking to reduce the amount of emissions reductions in the world. I think this protocol is doing just that. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And why was this protocol developed?
There were no regulations on the majority of landfills to have any type of destruction projects on site. So this was a great opportunity to encourage gas destruction, encourage beneficial use of landfill gas in boilers, or have that gas being sent to a pipeline.
Got it. I see. Okay. So with encouraging gas destruction and ensuring that these landfills are managed properly, what are some key eligibility criteria that people can sign up to and submit a project through for the US landfill protocol?
Like our other protocols, we have requirements around location, project start date, project crediting period, additionality, and regulatory compliance. So I can go into some of those briefly. So to be eligible for credits, the landfill project must be located in the US or its tribal lands and territories. The start date must be no more than 90 days after the landfill gas is first destroyed in the project destruction device. And administratively, it needs to be submitted to us at the reserve for listing no more than 12 months after that start date. Additionally, the project can only report emission reductions during the crediting period, which is 10 years. And that period can also be renewed twice for a total of 30 years, provided that the landfill gas destruction is not legally required. Related to that, projects must be additional. Additionality has two tests, the performance standard test and the legal requirement test. So the performance standard test for landfill projects ensures what's occurring in the project is above business as usual in the industry. And the legal requirement test ensures that there's no crediting if the destruction of landfill gas is legally required. So we don't want to credit for projects that are already doing what's standard practice or what's legally required for them to do so. And finally, projects also need to be in material compliance with all applicable laws.
Got it. No, thanks, Holly. That's really helpful to hear you walk through, additionality in terms of how credits can be issued through a landfill project. And I think in addition to additionality, another term that we are really critical of looking at is permanence. So with landfill projects, how do we ensure permanence of greenhouse gas reductions?
Fortunately, once the landfill gas is destroyed, it's destroyed. We don't have the same permanence concerns with this protocol as we might in sequestration projects, for example. Plus, the credits we issue are serialized. So once those credits are retired, they can't be used a second time. So then it's a permanent offset from that reduction.
Got it. Okay, so that's pretty unique about this type of protocol then, is that so because the landfill gas is destroyed, that's how we ensure permanence. The gas is gone. So that's really cool, I think, to this specific protocol. And for landfill projects, what is the typical timeline that we can expect from the start of a project?
That's a great but really tricky question. So it might help to take a step back and start with the first steps a project developer or a landfill would do to get a project up and running. So first, they would probably do a financial feasibility study. They would see how much gas the landfill's producing and then put in an active destruction device. There's a lot that needs to be set up in the landfill gas collection and destruction system, like wells, blowers, pipes, and a lot more that help collect the gas and get it to the destruction device. There's other equipment too that needs to be installed, such as flow meters and methane analyzers that determine how much gas is actually being destroyed. So some projects will put in a test flare as part of the feasibility study and allow a testing period before the start date. That's done to see how much gas can be collected and destroyed. So unless the project developer knows there's a lot of gas to destroy, that might be a necessary step in getting the project set up. Once we get the landfill project submitted to us for listing, a lot of this work has already been done. So that's why the timeline could vary wildly. And once the landfill is operating, it would be verified once a year or once every 2 years, depending on the project. And then once the project is in verification, it's generally a shorter time frame than most other projects. So we would see somewhere between 3 to 6 months from the start of verification to our review and to when the credits are actually issued for the project.
Thanks, Holly. I really appreciate you going through that time frame. I can tell how you said it is a tricky question, but appreciate that there is a lot of, things that are going into this to ensure that projects are submitted and then up and running on our system, and so that project implementation can actually start beginning to happen. So that's really helpful to walk through. And who is going to use this protocol to develop carbon offset projects? And so not only who's going to use the protocol, but who will also then purchase the credits?
Sure. So, in terms of who would use it, it could be cities or counties to get credits for their own landfills. And we also frequently see project developers familiar with carbon offset projects too. In the cases with cities or counties developing projects, we sometimes see them use technical consultants who have more industry experience and can help them, especially in the early stages of the project. Anyone can purchase the credits, but landfill credits are a good option for organizations to offset their emissions for less money than other credits. Landfill credits tend to be more affordable than other types of credits, but are unfortunately seen as less charismatic than other project types. However, a ton reduced is a ton reduced, no matter what the project type.
That's right. No, that's really critical and important, I think, to just overall with Climate Action Reserve, our programming, but with our protocols, a ton reduced is a ton reduced, and that's what we're trying to accomplish at the end of the day. And with with landfills particularly and this sector, has there been anything that surprised you lately within the sector?
Definitely. We've heard anecdotally that the price of landfill credits has gone up lately, pretty precipitously actually, which is exciting, I think, for the project type, as well as indicating that there's a lot of additional interest in the voluntary carbon market going on right now.
Definitely. That's super exciting. And I think, yeah, across the board, we're seeing that being reflected of the rise of the voluntary carbon market. But with landfill projects, that's also just exciting to hear. And Holly, lastly, what's one question you wished I had asked you during this podcast episode? And how would you have answered about landfill projects?
Sure. One of the interesting things about landfill projects that we haven't touched on yet is the sheer number of them and how many total credits have been issued to date for those landfill projects. It's one of our older, most established protocols. So at this point, we've issued almost 37 million credits total to landfill projects. And we also have 55 actively reporting landfill projects. So that definitely keeps our team busy.
Definitely. No, I can see how with 37 million credits issued to date that you guys on the landfill team are very, very busy. And I definitely, as you're saying as well, it seems like that interest is not going to be going down anytime soon. So that's really great to hear. And Holly, I just want to thank you for your time today and really briefing us on landfills and the landfill protocol through Climate Action Reserve, and just appreciate you joining today.
Thanks so much, Lauren. This is great.